The skills that take you to one level are not only incapable of taking you to the next level, they will often cause you to self-sabotage and slide back down the greasy pole to worse off than where you started from. And what brought this to mind for me recently, this week in fact, was the political demise of the British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. What's Boris Johnson got to do with recruitment and success? Let me explain. First of all, context, by the way. I've been in recruitment for over 20 years. I've trained 50,000 recruitment consultants to deliver better results and to go from here to there, to get that breakthrough from 150 to 300,000 of revenue, from 500,000 to 1 million, to go from being a consultant to being an entrepreneur. And that change process, that change which requires skills, attitudes and beliefs that are different from what you have in the first place, that change is what I'm a specialist in. So that's the context for this video. And Boris Johnson is just the perfect case in point. Boris Johnson became Prime Minister effectively in a palace coup. Former Conservative Party leader and Prime Minister Theresa May, ousted by the party. There's then an internal election, and the MPs and then the Conservative Party members, between them, elected Boris Johnson as the new Conservative Party leader, and by default he became the next Prime Minister. There's then things that happen, not going to get into them. If you're interested in recent political history, there's lots of other channels on YouTube. But in terms of what comes next, he goes out to the public in an election and he wins a massive majority. I mean, unheard of levels. I think it was about 30, nearly 40 years since anybody had won an election with that majority. Just earth-shattering. And he won it on the basis of the one promise, which was get Brexit done. Not going to talk about Brexit. Other videos, other channels. Not going to talk about what getting it done meant or whether it was a good idea. Other videos, other channels. But let's be under no illusion about this. The British people knew exactly what they were getting with Boris Johnson. He was a public school buffoon. Well, that's the persona he chose to present. He's actually a very smart, very well-educated guy who's chosen to present himself in a given way. He deliberately makes a mess of his hair before he goes on camera, for example. That's presentation. He doesn't have a hat and a cigar like Churchill. He has the roughly tousled hair and the suit that doesn't fit. It's a choice. You know, could he find a tailor? Yes. Could he comb his hair? Yes. Will he ever? No. It's a trademark. But what also came with Boris Johnson was bullshit, deception, sexual misadventures and philandering, the fact that nobody knows how many children he's got. Presumably he does, but I wouldn't necessarily guarantee it. And the fact that his entire career has been based on bluster and bullshit and getting through it. He's gone from crisis to crisis with no loss of enthusiasm. Now, the British people didn't not know that. It wasn't as though this has come out as news to people. It was just part of the package. That was Boris Johnson. That's what it was. And those skills of personal presentation, those attitudes of, well, screw it, I'll just deal with it when it comes up. And those beliefs, which is, well, so far I've been successful, so I can handle anything. Those skills, attitudes and beliefs were obviously capable of making him a very popularly elected Prime Minister. You can argue whether he deserved it. You can argue whether we should have predicted whether he was going to be a good Prime Minister or not. You can argue any number of things. What you can't argue is that the British people, in massive numbers, decided that they would rather have Boris Johnson in number 10 Downing Street than anybody else available at the time. That's grand. But here's the thing. The buffoonery, the sexual misadventures, the attitude that, well, it doesn't matter what I say, I'll just deal with it when it comes back at me. all that stuff is great to get you to the top job in British politics. But they are not going to keep you in that job for long. Because when you start bullshitting the British press about serious stuff, you can bullshit them about whether, when you're Mayor of London, you can bullshit the press about whether putting hundreds or thousands of rental bikes in the streets is a good move for the population, whether they get in use, whether they get nicked. You can bullshit around that till you're blue in the face. And the press may call you on it, they may not, even if they catch you in a lie. It's bikes. Who, whatever really. You start bullshitting people brazenly while you're in number 10 and just trying to shrug it off and trying to do that cascading process of bullshit. Oh, a little confession, a little correction, a little bit, oh, here's the truth. And it's taken me 3 days to come up with the truth. And everybody looked like an absolute rat bag for the last 3 days. But that's their problem, not mine, because, it's all fine. Look at my ruffly hair. You can't do that as Prime Minister. Well, not for long. And none of what I'm saying is a value judgment about whether Boris Johnson did or didn't actually deliver as Prime Minister. He's coming out of number 10, slowly, dragged by his heels, with his nails scratching into the floor as he comes, but he's coming out of number 10, and actually, he's got some accomplishments under his belt for his time in office. We did leave the European Union, messily, but we left. We were the first country we put millions, tens of millions at risk in developing COVID vaccines that may or may not have worked. And we rolled out the vaccine before anybody else in the world. And, unless you're a really serious anti-vaxxer, that's a massive success. Yes, there's the PPE scandals. Yes, there's Hancock. Yes, there's whatever. But in terms of result, that's a good result. There's any number of different things. We supported, Boris Johnson supported Ukraine pretty much before anybody else, and has put a much bigger amount of support in there proportionally than any other country. There's lots of things that he can point to and go, did that, but maybe history will look kind on him. But right now, the British people aren't, because you can't bullshit people and get your colleagues to go out and cover for you and do that consistently for year after year after year and not have your knees chopped out from under you. Those very skills of charming buffoonery and bullshit took him to the top job, but they were the very things that meant he could never, ever keep it. Now, this is a channel all about recruitment and recruitment skills and boosting your revenue as a recruitment consultant or setting up your firm as an entrepreneur. Yes, indeed. Boris Johnson is the perfect case study for the skills that take you to one level, destroying your ability to go to the next level successfully. If you hit that first blockage point that most consultants do, where they're billing sort of 150, 175 sterling, but what you do to get to that level will not take you to billing 300,000 in sterling. You cannot go from 150 to 300,000 of billings just by making more calls. And you certainly can't go from 300 to 1 million by making more calls, because you just can't. There aren't that many hours in the day. There aren't that many numbers in the phone book. Show my age. Phone books, they used to be a thing. Anyway, the skills, the attitudes and the beliefs that get you to this level will hold you back. They will stop you making the next step up. So if you want to make that next step up, if you want to go from where you are to where you want to be, you need to change your skills, attitudes and beliefs. You need to change your skills, attitudes and beliefs to the ones that are appropriate for the level you want to play at rather than the level you are playing at. If you want to really secure your future, you've got to change the way you play the game. Skills, attitudes beliefs. If you want to change, you've got to change.